I was in the photo pit shooting the show in London, and at some point I was like, "Did a keyboard just move? What just happened?" So they just slid in front of my camera. Like, what the hell was that? Yeah, folks, you must be. Are you just exhausted all the time? You're doing so much, folks.
Yeah.
Like,
we keep our like, but it's worth it. You know, it's worth it because in the end, this album and like, and everything we do, this is.
Calva Louise are proving that you don't need huge budgets and massive teams of people to create highly visually entertaining and engaging with special effects music videos. And they've just released their album Edge of the Abyss, which is one of the most artistically, musically, visually creative offerings I've seen in recent years, especially for a band at their level. And I'm so intrigued to find out more about their corner of the music world, and delighted to have some time with the band today. We have Jess, Ben, and Alison from Calva Louise. Welcome, folks. Thank you very much for your time. Now, for those who are uninitiated in the world of Calva Louise, we'll probably get into some of this, but I understand that this started in a way from when Jess was about 10 years old, coming up with this science fiction storied concept. But what I'm interested to know, Jess, is what came first, your interest in creating worlds and stories, or your interest in creating music? Or did they happen kind of at the same time?
Oh, wow. I think it was, I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was the creating more of like a story than a story, no matter what the medium. Because I remember when I was like, my dad is a musician. And when I was like, I mean, I was told when I was like 7 years old, my mom like put some like, little keyboards and stuff in front of me. And I was like, no, I'm going to paint. I don't want to do that. And she's like, well, she's not going to be a musician. And then she was wrong in that.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. If you want to encourage your children to do music, I have the same problem with my daughters. I don't want to be like, listen to metal, because then they'll hate it. I'm just sprinkling it around and hoping they pick it up. Yeah, exactly. Now, when it comes to the concept and songwriting and the rest, this was a great question nudged forward by one of my patrons, Jordan Roy. Do you start from a point of view of something you want to continue in the story or something you want to explore within the story first in the lyrical concepts, or does it more often happen with a vocal hook and you think, right, or a guitar riff or piano lick, you think, actually, this mood could explore this part of the story? How do you get into the songwriting?
So I think it's a blend of the two, because everything comes very spontaneously. Also, we kind of have sometimes the fortune and the misfortune to be experiencing things in our personal lives as a band that really fuel the mood of of the music. So I think we got angrier and angrier as a catharsis, just not to be angry in real life, and use that, and it all kind of connects. It all makes sense once like the process of creation starts, and I start. It's all kind of simultaneous. Like I have the guitar on top of me, and a mic, and the keyboard, and in front of the computer, and so things start flowing. And it's the same for like Spanish or English, like whatever comes first, and then it all starts connecting the dots, and it all starts like, that makes sense, and it just fuses together.
Right. So you just follow the inspiration as it goes. I mean, you hinted there at the Spanish or English, because I was wondering about that as well, because I mean, I know maybe 15 words in Spanish. So the Spanish parts of the songs go straight over my head. But it's fun, because what I care most about personally is musical elements, and it sounds fucking cool. But I was wondering whether there is something that's a character-driven point of view, and you go, actually, I want this character side of things. I think Spanish is the best way to express this language, whatever it is. Is that something that occurs, or is it more about how it sounds with the words, or more about the meaning of the story behind whether you go Spanish or English?
Well, it's what language can express in the most concrete, like what I'm thinking at the time. Some sort of expressions sometimes get lost in translation. I've said many weird expressions during the years to Alison and Ben, that now it becomes kind of like, that's normal. like one of them is kind of like, oh, this person thinks it's the last Pepsi Cola of the desert. You know, it's it's to say that you know, things like that. And so whatever, you know, I'm thinking something, and there's a metaphor or an expression that really encompasses the straight up feeling, like that's exactly, you know, what I'm feeling. Like in German, you know, there's like certain words that are very specific to a feeling. So whatever,
Yes.
whichever language is the most convenient for that, I think that's what comes out. And sometimes I just blend the two and say things like I love metaphors and trying to give examples of something that's really specific, and then other people with different experiences, but we're all human, so we all feel, you know, similar things, even if it's not the same experiences. Then, you know, the people can be like, I don't understand your personal experience exactly, like exactly what happened, but I can understand the feeling of it because we've all been through something similar.
Sure. Yeah. And it makes ultimately for a very unique thing, which is fantastic. And actually, Ben, I was wondering what your take might be on this. If I'm trying to introduce someone to Calva Louise, I would struggle to think of a comparative band because what you do is quite a unique thing. It's the closest thing I'd get to is like Coheed and Cambria. I think because there's a storied concept and it's quite fast paced at times, it's complex music. Do you even try to introduce your or think about like what relative sphere you might be in? You just go like, we're Calva Louise, whatever it is, take it or leave
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, I think like Coheed's a great comparison because obviously they've got a story that spans like multiple records, and they do like they have a comic book series as well. The Deer Hunter is another good example. Like, he's written like a 5 album act, you know, that goes from start to finish, and it's all interlinked with like musical motifs and stuff like that. So that's, you know, there is some element of that in there. Like in terms of describing it to someone or like comparing, I don't know. Like we, it's quite difficult because we come from different places and we all have different musical influences from our childhoods and stuff. It kind of feels like the final sound is very much like a tapestry. So there are a lot of sounds in there, especially with Jess's songwriting and on the latest record as well. Like a lot of the more Latin influences coming through. It's, you know, it's just there's a lot of different things happening, and it's, you know, it's hard to describe in one word. Multicultural.
Yeah.
No, it's a fair point. And I wondered if whether that makes, is it, you see it as a benefit or a challenge sometimes if you're trying to figure out what is going to be an appropriate tour package for us to join? Because I mean, I think increasingly audiences are looking for uniqueness, and also they're not looking for a gig where every band is in a similar genre. Actually, people are liking variety a bit more. But is that something you're noticing, Alison, like when it comes to who's best to tour with? How does that impact when you have your very unique kind of thing?
I think it's an advantage because that means, you know, we can blend with many different genres, and it's, you know, it's always going to work. Like the latest one was Bloodywood, which was a perfect package for us, like, because their audience was already, you know, very much into multicultural, you know, music with loads of different influences. So, you know, bands like that, it's like perfect for us because of the blend of things, and even if it's like it's not the same influences, but it's still very open in terms of styles. And you know, even bands like Straight from the Past, who we are lucky to go on tour with in November, which, you know, it's a different style from, say, Bloodywood, but which still felt like, you know, we're going to be, you know, fitting on the bill. Hopefully their audience, you know, enjoys it. But it's been great in the past, like, because that means we can, you know, work with like artists that are a bit more electronic as well, or a little bit more, you know, metal, or a bit more like what do you say, not folk, yeah, alternative, or like even have more folkloric influence in there from any kind of culture. So no, it's been like a great thing.
Yeah, I think you're dead right. I mean, you can show up anywhere and there'll be some kind of thread that matches. And actually the bands that you've toured, well, Bloodywood previously and upcoming Straight from the Path, musically there might be differences, but energy levels, I think there's similarities. Like I was lucky enough to see your gig at the Forum in London on the Bloodywood tour, and it's a high energy explosion of sound from start to finish in your set, and that's kind of what they bring, right? There's a similarity, I think. What was that experience like for yourselves touring with Bloodywood? What have you taken away from that tour in particular?
Yeah, that was amazing.
It was the
Yeah,
best
I think
tour.
it's the best
Yeah,
tour
it's the
we've
best
done.
tour we've done. It was like when we got the offer, we were very like mind blown, and we didn't know how we're going to afford it because well, touring costs so much money, and we're kind of like at a stage where we don't really make any, so we were in debt, and but the opportunity was so great, and Blur was a band that we listened to, so it's like straight from the path. Like when you get invited to support bands that you really admire, that you really listen to, that it's you can't you can't say no, because that's like you got to take the risk of that opportunity. So when we took it, we were like, we really, fingers crossed, their audience likes us, and that we get to do some merch, and then we get to put some fuel into the machine so it doesn't get stuck, which has happened before, like paying for gas, or like hotels or food, or it just gets a lot. And we had such an amazing like surprise, because not only Blue were super nice, the Morning Resurrection as well, we got along so well. So already, touring for a month with people you really like and that you really enjoy, like like talking to, and then just hanging and learning, that was amazing. And also the fact that the audiences was really receptive, and they allowed us to afford it, and we broke even, and we were that was kind of like I don't know, it felt the euphoria of like feeling like, oh my god, we're for the first time we're not gonna be in more debt than we can afford, and we get to live this amazing, like this experience, and feeling like the synergy. The audience was just fantastic. So it just kept in all the ways, energy wise, like mentally wise, physically wise, and economic wise. Like it was all like it was a work that was working. It was just rolling in a good way. We end up like at the end of the tour, it was just we never felt that happy, like we feel we're on the right way. We like our friendship, we're all like yeah. So yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah, I think not enough people realize that like breaking even on a tour is a big victory. Like that's a tough thing to do. It's getting more difficult out there. What do you have any advice for other bands on how you've managed to balance those sides of things and focus on making it sustainable and making smart decisions whilst also trying to get out there and play as many gigs as you can? How do you balance that?
That's the best one, Phil.
I mean, you gotta have someone in the band that's gonna, do the TM work sometimes. Just kind of like look ahead, plan ahead, try and plan as much as you can. That's the best way to avoid any unwanted situation. Plan your routes, your hotels, where you're gonna stay, or anywhere you're gonna stay. And just be at the merch if you wanna meet people. That's another thing, actually. We always made a point of being at the merch after the show, but forever. That's always what we've done, because we love meeting people and having like actually getting feedback and meeting people from the show. And I feel like that helped a lot. Like all these people, they were like super happy to speak to us after the show, which we're super grateful. And they were like, sometimes they're like, we get to talk a bit about the story and like our life and what it's like, and nobody realizes, and they're like, oh my god, yeah, didn't realize, and they're like, well, I'm gonna take you a t-shirt and help you out, and so it's so important to like be out there and be able to, sometimes you can't do it for XY reasons, but be out there and be able to meet the audience at the show, even if it's not our own show, but people who want to have a chat, then it's really valuable.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, there's never a better position for them to understand. Like, oh, it's how can I support? Well, lucky you've asked. We have T-shirts, we've got CDs.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was thinking of like you're obviously because of financial restrictions, etc. But also if your support act on a bill, there's only so much you can do in terms of staging and things. Do you have lofty dreams in mind of like one day when we have the budget, the kind of visuals or things you want to do on your staging to bring to life the storied ideas? Are those things you think about, or are you trying not to think about them until that's something you could physically do?
Yeah,
we think about. I got a folder on my phone for like stagecraft idea, where I save everything I see online. I take a screenshot, I put it in the folder.
It's there as well. Let me just.
Sure,
So Alison made that. It's a neon sign.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty big.
It's the album art, right?
Yeah. And it's Alison's like, well, whenever we are, like that, we can afford like to bring it somewhere and. Like either a headline show, whatever. We got that. Like he spent like to make it, to get it made, it will cost so much money. But again, I feel like we're so lucky that we know skills, and one of Alison's biggest skills is that he just knows how to build stuff.
I'll just figure it out.
Well, I mean, and that's just wood and.
That's just
LED lights, and it looks like a neon sign, so cool. He's got all his little, whoa, but wait, like.
But yeah, we always want to improve, and like, we're always thinking about how we can, make it more than what it is with our means, because there's always ways, simple, cheap ways to, make it better and like, make it more interesting. And because there's such a rich lore already with the story, with the artworks, and there's ways to bring that to stage. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. We've had like failures before. Like I've made some stuff and it just broke after 2 shows, and it's just okay. Well, at least we tried. But we've experimented with like video mapping on stage as well, with like projections. Because Jess made like a 45-minute animated movie for our second record. Yeah. For our second record with Blender, which was a bit more abstract, but still the visuals were amazing. And so I remember I was like, we need to like use this for the tour. This is too good. And also we're playing the whole thing. So like we had this kind of like circle screen with like mapped video on it. And it wasn't perfect, but we've always been trying to experiment with things like that and how to make it better. And hopefully as, we progress, we can make it into a bigger stage show every time.
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm so impressed by the DIY attitude that you have. And it's not even like, oh, we'll put something simple together just to like the level of visual effects in your videos is not like, oh, we'll just add a transparent flame here. It's like it's mapped and it moves with the camera. That's such high level stuff. So Jess, I talked to you very briefly in London. You just learned this stuff yourself. Right? How did you do that?
Well, so I mean, if you think about it, like we live in a day and age where a lot of information is so available. So in like 2020, we couldn't do anything. I just started watching tutorials on YouTube, and there's been so much information. It's like literal geniuses that do videos on about like most ridiculous things that you can do with free softwares like Blender and Unreal Engine. And so I was like, we were at the time wanting to do more stories and more videos, and somebody pays somebody to do the effects and stuff, but it wasn't great for us because it felt like a job, like people were doing jobs and we're nobodies. And what I mean, when people don't put the heart in it, it's different. So I was like, you know what, the tools are there. I'll just, we have time now. I'll just learn. And little by little was like seeing all this information, seeing how many geniuses that are online willing to give their wisdom, like, for free, just to like spread the word of creating animation and VFX, CGI, So I was like, wow, I've thanked some of them, some of the videos, like bought some assets like on Unreal Engine. There was the Scorpion, the Cyber Scorpion. I messaged the guy being like, listen, what you've done is helped my story so much. Even on tutorials, like, go on people's Patreons and things like that. So I was like, there's no excuse to not develop it or to ask someone else to do it, because the tools are there, and I just need to put the work. So I was like, I want to put the work in, and yeah, it's been like 5 years, and that like researching and trying, and I felt so much as well. Like there's been times where I've just been crying in the middle of the night because I've been trying to do something on Unreal Engine, and it's just gone. You miss either Blender or Unreal Engine, you miss one step, and everything goes like nothing works. And so I have to do it like 5 times, 6 times. And then, but when it works, when you do a scene and you compose some fire here, and then, remember like building the spider, the crane spiders for the story, for like the earlier videos, to do those movements and to do like the road destructions, like things like that, which can go really wrong. When you get it right, the satisfaction you have, like, is again, it's like being on stage a little bit. You're like, oh yes, I've made this, like it's working, and you made it, so you feel so proud about it. So it's just feeling still chasing that feeling, and that motivates you, gives you food to keep on like putting the effort. And even if you fail many times, then when you get it right, and it's not that right, it's right for our level, it's not like big VFX people will look at it and be like, what's this? But it just feels great. Yeah. It's just, you enjoy it. So the work is worth it.
Yeah. I think there are a few things in life that are more fulfilling than working at something for a long period of time and then having it pay off and going like, great, did it worked. I think we're living in a time now where things have to be quite immediate, and something like that, like you'll start to go, well, I can't do this amazing fire effect I want to have. Why even bother? But actually, if you just start and you improve and you improve and you learn and you iterate and get better, then like you've now been doing VFX for half a decade. Like that's now an experienced thing because you decided to start. It's really, really cool. Because you do that all yourself, you can then, as you say, put your heart and soul into it. If suddenly you had a bucket full of money and you could pay other people to do all the VFX, would you in some way think, well, then I'll lose a bit of the creative control I could have on this potentially? Would you still want to work on it yourself?
Well, I mean, yeah, we've talked about this a lot, because when we get to the point where we can get budget to hire a team, the most important, I think, is that, well, if we get that money, it's because there'll be people willing to, see. It's not like you're chasing for people to give you favors, but it'd be more, like a collaborative experience. And because, like, well, I mean, I know the VFX like side of it. I was gonna then know about the props, and like we all know like how, more of the vocabulary of, of the filming, how we have to shoot it and things like that. So it'd be kind of easier to work with a team, because if for example, my ideal would be to work with a VFX supervisor and then get like, more of like a team of people that I could, that they could understand the story, and they could understand what things mean and what's the priorities. And especially I feel I would like delegate like work to people that understand and are appreciative of the story, because that's the problem we've always had. People like, I don't understand what you're trying to say. It doesn't interest me. Where's the money? Like I just wanna. It's just a job. So it'd be great if it's a job and it's like people be proud to be in it and understand the like the not only the thematic but the aesthetic of what we want to do. Because I mean, sometimes I feel like people prioritize quality over style, and I completely get that. But I think like I love B movies. I love creative stuff that even if it's not, the most like, clean as it could be, people chase a lot of perfection and things like that. If you say something through color, and if the color grade is not just, perfect, but it, if you mean something to the story, to the characters, people that would understand that, I'll be kind of like, okay, I'll do some of it, and then we will delegate the parts that you're just a person and you can't do all of it yourself, especially if you go on tour and things like that. So I mean, that'd be my our ideal kind of like where we'll be like the producers in a way, of
It's such a wise pro answer. You've clearly given this a lot of thought. Because it's one thing to think of it as like a faceless, nameless bunch of people who can do effects. It's more like it's finding the right people who understand your vision, and then they can have their own creativity to bring it to life if they're invested and they care about it.
Absolutely,
and also I think there is a bit of a style to your videos. There's a kind of charm to that, which I guess you'd risk losing if you didn't maintain that in some way. That's an interesting thought. The other thing that I've been impressed by is I was in the photo pit shooting the show in London, and at some point I was like, did a keyboard just move? What just happened? So they just slid in front of my camera. Like, what the hell was that? You've got this contraption where the keyboard kind of slides back and forth. And I understand, Alazon, I think that's one of your structural builds. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Where did that come from as a concept? You're like, I need to play piano, I need to play guitar, but this piano's in the fucking way. How do I take it out of the way and only have it when I need it? Is that where that's come from?
That's exactly it.
That's exactly it.
So Jess started writing those keyboard parts for the music, on the record, on the songs, and obviously you wanted to play them live, but playing piano live is, you're stuck behind the keyboard stand for the whole set, even if you only need it for like 30 seconds at a time. So yeah, we just kind of like, we talked about it and then we went away, and I think we kind of had a similar idea at the same time when we came back. And
yeah.
I built like a sort of like a keyboard tray, so it slides the other way like a computer keyboard kind of for Bobby Wolfgang, who we live with. Shout out to Bobby. And so I built him like a contraption so he could like sort of retract, and I was like, it needs to slide away somewhat, somehow, it needs to be a keyboard that just kind of like gets out of the way. And I thought maybe like it would swing out, but then I thought it's a bit dangerous, and so, small stages. And,
with my camera, that would have been a bigger problem. Like fucking junk.
Yeah. And then I just kind of like, brainstorm, and then we thought, like it can just slide sideways.
But it also came from so I was also thinking about all of this, and I think we were watching tutorials of like the tutorials that I watch. There's like these geniuses, that have like these huge like computers and stuff, and like 3 screens and like keyboards and stuff. And then I remember seeing one keyboard, like guy was like, okay, and then he just literally moved his computer keyboard, and it was like, that'd be cool to do. And it's funny when we started talking about it, both we were like, hey, what about this? It's funny because some people are like, well, why? And I was like, why not? Honestly, it's such a cool thing.
Actually, like people don't understand sometimes, especially online. Sometimes there's comment like, oh, why do you need this? It's just overkill. And it's like, well, first of all, it's cool. Sorry. And then it just actually solves issues, because being stuck behind a keyboard stand is not good. But when you're playing guitar and you're trying to front, like
what about the
nobody sees you, and then also people are like, oh, you could just put it on the side, but then that means you have to set up a different mic, and that means so much bleed and horrible noise through the second mic. It just introduced a lot of problems, and so that's actually problem solving, not just
the second mic, and also like the speed of sometimes like the keyboard. Didn't really think about it when you're writing. You're just
you jump so fast between the two.
It needs to be immediate.
It's immediate, yeah. So it's I practice a lot of like the pulling and then the guitar.
Choreography.
It's choreography, yeah. And so it's like I wouldn't even be able to do 2 steps. I'll have to have like a mic like this, and also I was always like, why don't you just keep the keyboard in front? Dude, I put effort on the outfit, and so it's good, to just show the outfit like on a
Just the guitar as well.
and the guitar, yeah.
And the audience connection as well. Like,
And
you
the
want to be
audience
like
connection.
nothing between you and them,
No barrier.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. I mean, the one thing that people might not consider is it's one thing to build the sliding contraption, but surely if you just slide a keyboard out, that thing's going to fucking fall over immediately. So do you have some heavy weight counterbalancing on the far side to keep it up?
So there is a couple of things. So the way it's built is that the bottom plate is a lot heavier than the top, obviously, to keep it balanced. And then on one side, there is like the base extends to act as like
it's like a support.
like a support,
like,
yeah.
Support.
So this
Like
way it
something.
cannot fall because it's spread wide on the floor. You know what I mean?
And
I
then-
see.
Then it's not perfect. It's still work. Sometimes it depends if the stage is a little bit like this.
Yeah.
It's just
Like at sound check, we always like have to. I always
Just
have
slowly
to like,
sliding out.
even it, yeah, like just make sure it's even because a lot of stages are actually not
not even.
leveled.
Yeah.
We played Shipwrecks
Oh,
at
yeah.
the start of this year, and because it's on the cruise ships, and like the boat moves like this ever so slightly. So like I remember when we were doing the sound check, the keyboard stand would just like slide out
And
by
then-
itself and then go back.
But it's also it's part of the choreography as well. Like if I go too hard, it comes bounce back. And then so it's little things like that. It should be working perfectly, but sometimes like at festivals, like 2003, it was really funny. Like because it was a little bit level, it was so hot, there was so much dust,
Oh, yeah.
and at one point, like it came back, and I was like, no. Here we go.
I mean, so obviously that was created out of a need for it. But I wonder, Ben, would you not be there being like, Alison, what could you build for my drums to make them fucking cool and slide around? I want a piccolo snare to slide out instead of this one.
Yeah, I want like a hovering snare, like auxiliary
Yeah.
snare, like
Yeah.
maybe like 4 like rocket little
Yeah.
mini jets or something. I don't know. Yeah,
Or like some floating cymbals that just come around when you need them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the whole drum kit on a swing. That's what I want. I really swing it and play.
Yeah, that's right. No, not yet.
No, it's-
But I mean, who knows in future? Maybe there's some problems that need solving creatively, and Amazon can
Oh, I'm
help.
sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, what would you say has been what aspect of being a band is the least fulfilling and least fun part? Don't worry, afterwards we'll get to what is the most fun. But what do you say is the part that is the most challenging and difficult? And if you're like, if I didn't have to do this one part of it, I'd be happier. And don't say interviews. That would be very awkward.
No, interviews is one of the most fun. Interviews is one of the most fun because I think the worst is just well, I don't know. I think it's for bands is always a bit different, especially what we're all people, so what triggers you a little bit as a human, but because we do everything ourselves, like the assets and the videos, that like the TMing, like the we don't have like what's it called, like a drum tech or whatever, or like it's just us. And I think the worst part sometimes, there's two worst parts. Is time, the first one, because we have to do so many different jobs, and so that we just sometimes like can't really think about, like when we were doing the album is another job as well, like the music, and it should be just that, but it just touches so much things. And again, because we're doing like the videos and the working with art photographers of the pictures, the edits, and everything that is asset wise, it's kind of sometimes you feel treated a little bit, you're not being treated like an artist on emails, you're kind of being treated like like, when is this done and things like that, and you're like, chill, like
This is creativity. You can't rush this.
There's a lot of like that was like we talk with our friends and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, because we are like, now we're not getting paid to do this, but we're sometimes you get treated like you're being like on a payroll, or what's it called? Yes, like a salary, and you're making zero money, so it's kind of like, dude, we need to chill and some stuff, but which would be different if we were a detached band from anything that has nothing to do with the music, that is more like there's a lot of people, creative directors and, well, even music directors, so because we do all of that and we're also the artist, it gets sometimes muddy. And, and, and so sometimes you're like, I can't do emails anymore.
Yeah, folks, you must be. Are you just exhausted all the time? You're doing so much, folks.
Yeah.
Like,
we keep our like, but it's worth it. It's worth it because in the end, this album and like, and everything we do, this is not only, it doesn't represent us a little bit, it represents us 100%, and everything that we can do, because we are in control of all of it, but at the same time, we wish if we could work with more, like we had more budget to expand the quality of it, but it's kind of like the pros and the cons, and the pros is that this is what we can do, and the cons is that sometimes we just don't want to do it because of how we have to deal with anything that is not artistic, like um, like the difficult conversations outside just making the art. And sometimes it's like midnight and I'm just finishing a video and I'm being like so tired, and I get an email that it literally, I don't know if you've seen like that SpongeBob meme, like, or Squidward, when he opens his eyes and it's just blood on his eyes, like. So that's how you feel sometimes. I'm literally about to go to bed. It's 3 a.m. and then get an email, and then I'm like, ugh! And then it's that's the difficult part.
yeah, I think you saw something in a biography. Like, you describe it as like it's the path of the warrior in a way. Like you need sort of dogged determination to keep going. I imagine that the three of you must be a pretty strong unit, given all the stuff you're taking on and plowing forward and making this thing work.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about going through all this together. Is that, yeah, we feel like you can't tear us apart. Like, nothing can just come in between now. It's just, we've been through all this.
Yeah.
And we'll go through everything else that comes our way,
It's just like, I feel like all three of us have grown, like, individually and together as well, through like many, many experiences, and we've all become much more resilient to things that, that we thought we could be, I don't know.
It's sometimes we get told XYZ, like whatever, and then we have our chat that is like, again, if you imagine like a family chat, with brothers and sisters, and then they're like, I can't believe that happened, I can't, like things like that. I don't think we've not chat, or almost like we've seen each other every day for 10 years. Pretty much, and we've spoken with each other every day since then, and we're like two brothers and a sister. Like, it's that you can't tear family apart. So that's something that that is really, I think, when bands form and then you got that kind of friendship, that is something extremely unique, and I think that is not only a strength but chance of the universe. Like won the lottery, and that's how it feels. So like we're a pretty strong unit there. So nobody can come in between. So that's cool.
That's awesome. No, it's great. I was like, you've done too much to ever stop. Like, you gotta, just keep going. Like, this is, and clearly it's growing and doing well. I mean, that tour seems to be great, and the Bloodywood one, Straight from the Path support on their final ever tour is massive as well. That's gonna be so cool. What then is your favorite aspect of being in a band? What is the most fulfilling part of it for yourselves? Maybe Ben, start with you.
I think, there's so many enjoyable parts to being in a band. I mean, like, I think we probably all have slightly different things, but like for me, it's just the live shows. I love performing live, playing the song, playing in front of people. I think it's great. The feeling you get when you see people connecting to the music just is like really fulfilling. And also like just especially being in Calva Louise, it's like and how we do everything ourselves. It's every day is different. So, we'll be doing recording one day and then like practicing the next couple of days or whatever it is. Like building a door, exactly, like music videos, collecting the props. Like Jess called me for like one of the music videos in the past. She's like, all right, we need a horse. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's find a horse.
Like a toy horse? No.
So what are you doing today? So I'm calling like stables, like it's so random, but it's great. That's what makes it interesting. It's not like, it's not a 9 to 5, and it's fresh. It's always fresh, and it's I don't know about you guys.
8 to midnight.
Yes, it's like 12 to 12.
Yeah, I know. My favorite part is that I can work with, to guys I consider my brothers, that I can call and be like, hey man, actually I need a horse. What can we do about this? And he's like, leave it with me. So that's my favorite part, is that like we're working like with living and working, and like having a life surrounding myself with people that I love and admire, and I that you're not going to a job and being like, oh, this fucking person, like it's a job. Like we can be in a van for 16 hours and then just laugh about it and still be like joke around. We got the same sense of humor with like it's great. I think that's in a way it's like a band is like a marriage, so you need to get along really well with that. So I guess my favorite part of being in Calva Louise and then of being in a band, like the meeting people and getting to travel different places that you'd never be, like like unless you go on holiday, but you need money for that. So it's kind of like trying this, like being super lucky to get to see places that are marvelous and meet amazing people, different cultures. That is something that I don't think many people get to live. So very grateful for that.
It's an incredible answer. You basically said almost everything, which is great. Alison, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, I can join Jess and Ben, and for me, the live shows are definitely a highlight, and not only, I mean, just all about it. Like it's physically quite intense sometimes touring, because you just get up early, get in the van, load in the van, drive for hours, and then unload, and then load in the venue, and then set up, and then sound check, and then it's a big days, and then you repeat day after day. But I love like almost the stress, like it's weird, but it's not the stress. It's more there's
excitement.
Like an excitement. Yeah, it's like a lot of things can go wrong, and it's on us to that it doesn't go wrong. I mean, especially like with all the gear and all the stuff. Like, I mean, that's more on me. But I love this like feeling before the show where you're like, I still get nervous before every single show. There is not a show where I'm not like chilling backstage, not worrying about anything. So I still get nervous, but I never want to lose that personally, because then when you get on stage and people are connecting and you're having a good time, and there's just a sense of, I don't know, it makes it even more amazing. Everything around it, that you just like, yeah, it's worth it. Every time you're like, yeah, okay, this is worth it. We keep going. Like,
that's awesome.
I know I'm like, just makes it obvious.
So it's made me think, because my next question was going to be about whether you have any particular bucket list items. Like, I really hope we one day play this venue or this festival or whatever it is. But I think often what I understand in life is that people who go on and achieve the big things we're hoping to achieve look back and go, actually, the best moments were all the things you're describing now. It's like the adventure of the journey is actually even though you'd love to have more money so you could live a comfortable life, I imagine. But it sounds like the parts you enjoy are the parts that you'll look back on and go like, yeah, we actually did make the most of the adventure while we were having it along the way, which is kind of a precious and amazing thing to have that perspective. Because I'm sure a lot of bands would be like, oh, it's just fucking exhausting. But there's a passion in there, I think, that probably keeps it going. It's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. It's a fire that can be extinguished. So you just need to put that in a song. You just need to put some more wood, like AKA money.
Yeah, fuel. Yeah, to touch, I think probably lightly or so on the storied concept itself. Like one of my patrons was asking whether you could break down the lore from like Third Class Citizen onwards. That probably needs like an hour's video in itself. So maybe we won't do that. But one thing I was wondering is, do you ever struggle with the order of releasing songs or music videos and whether that's going to fit in the story? And you go like, yes, I understand this song would be a great single, but it shouldn't be the next thing we release because this other song is a better stepping stone.
Exactly. Yeah. No, this is it's just how to marry the we've been told so many times, you're a band. Stop thinking about you're just a band. And then we're like, what? We know we're just a band, but like if you don't get it, you need to see the bigger picture, like in terms of the story and the lore and how it connects. So it's really funny. Like Impeccable, I don't think it was supposed to be a single, but I was like, it's such a key part of the story for this album. And is one of the longest songs, which is a 5-minute song. And we needed so much to tell, on that. And I was like, it can't be told on a 2-minute song. Like that's one of like the worst things for me for the editing, because we shoot so much of the story. Dialogues, like the scripts are 12 pages long. And then how to cram all of that in like 2-3 minutes. So, Impeccable was like, I was like, we just were like, we'll just do the video for Impeccable. And then when it's done, it was like, everybody, was like, yeah, that's good. Yeah. And Impeccable, like, it wasn't supposed, but it was like, it's the only song that has 5 minutes long to tell all these, the biggest part of the story. And it's a key part of it. I don't care if it's not a single material, it's the video material. Like it needs to be part of that. And the order as well, like those kind of things are difficult to think, to make all the puzzles. It's like different puzzles, like the music puzzle, the singles puzzle, and the video puzzle, and you all need to align. And it's like making little sacrifices here and there. It takes a lot of thought to be able to release it. But the good thing is I feel like the people that really like us and that are really interested in the story, they're really getting it. So the biggest part was not to be too confusing, and at the same time not to be too obvious, but because can't simplify it. But to make it, if you look for it, you'll understand it. Like there'll be all the clues that link all the videos. Especially the ends and the beginnings, and even if sometimes we release performance videos like Aimless, for example, but it's so linked, it's just like an in-between of What the Fuck and Tunnel Vision, because the places are the same. So we try to think about like where we are playing as well as a band in the videos. We wanted to make it look like we're the troubadours singing, like we're not inside of the story itself, but we're like telling the story like ghosts, inside of where the action happens, and then people can be like, oh, okay, like it's not obvious, but it could become like recurrent, so it all fits like that.
It's very cool. I mean, so I'm about to have at the time of this conversation, my reaction to the Tunnel Vision song will be on the channel, I think, some point soon. And when I listen to things, as you might tell from my background, I'm focusing on the musical elements. And so I'm sure at the end of it, it's like, I didn't understand a fucking thing that happened in that video, but hear my thoughts of the music. I have no doubt that if I did focus on the elements of it, then there's great storytelling in there. There certainly is visually. But also I think you want to make it a little bit, as you're saying, not super simple, so that the fans feel a bit of a like a euphoria, like, I've just noticed this, and then they connect that dots. That's quite a fun way of doing it. Now,
Yeah.
in a musical sense, there's so much that you pack into your music. I mean, there's electronic elements, there's all sorts as well. Do you have ideas in future of doing, expressing more within the same worlds, or are there other things you're looking to try and touch on? Do you have any concept of a musical change or arc in your future, or just kind of see where your music takes you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about, so like well, that's personal for me, but then you guys, you can say, but Calva has always been kind of like doing drafts. It's like a draft. Everything we do is first draft, like second draft, third draft, because the story is really big and you can touch it. And it's, for example, like for Edge of the Abyss, like there's less of like, the sci-fi world, like the fractal world, which is all the CGI world. And that's because, while what was recording Edge of the Abyss, it had all these 90s elements and all this inspiration. And I just couldn't spend like 2 months working nonstop on each video because it's just too much. Like the green screen, everything is insane. So I was like, okay, we're going to focus on the prequel, which is a little bit about the characters themselves and how they got to be to the point of the story of the fractal world. So there is elements of that coming from the 1800s with Raki, specifically this character was the wanderer from the 1800s, the time traveling. All of that is kind of written. We got like a board, with like that meme, with all the like the threads, So all of that, like the dates, the names, the times, the ages, all of that, it's written. So it developed already to be able to take what we're gonna focus next. It depends always on the music. It depends on the budget. It depends on what we can do. It depends on the team. So I always feel like for doing Edge of the Abyss, the music kind of like was the one telling, go this side of the story. Like, let's tell the 90s side of the story. Like, let's these characters that were in the 90s, because I thought a lot about that because Under the Skin is 2034, right? And so we did the calculation. Okay, so Commander Johnny, how did he become Commander Johnny? Like, why? Which is his story is impeccable. Like what, and like why is, like, how did he get there? So 40 years before, what is that? That's not in 1994. So it's thinking about it, you're like, okay, we're kind of in a time now where 90s is really the fashion, and so finding like the clothing, finding the stuff is not difficult. It's not like going into the 70s and and then my biggest job was like erasing everything modern, like getting Marlboro, like CGI like stuff that is very 90s, depending like of the story. But that was through the music, like that came through like the lyrics, that came so the music kind of like inspired, says go there, go to that part of the story. So for the next whatever, like the next album or mixtape or whatever we do, the music will dictate which side of the story we're going to go, either the future, the present, or the past. What can we explore? So it's funny because, Ben was saying like, okay, you get me a horn, but at the same time, I was like, Ben, we need 18th century, like, we need to get 18th century, like, disguises for both Raki and Louise, like those two characters, because they're from the 18th century. It's all in the comic book as well. It's like, Ben was like, you were like,
yeah,
leave it with me.
Great, thanks, Jess.
so like, but it was doable. Like we got like we and then Ben is amazing because Ben is like, you get to speak to everybody really likes you, and so they give you a prize, and it was really like very good negotiation in the business side. So we got more budget, and with that we get to do more. Get more money, get more team. Maybe the next Calva Louise will be a more futuristic side of it, like getting more into the dark wave, the synth wave, with maybe more industrial, even more getting into that side of it, and tell what's the next chapter of the story that doesn't have to chronologically fit, but they'll be said, when is this and when that happened. And you see it like in films like Superman. I don't know if you've seen that, but Superman starts at the middle of something, like you don't have to, you understand everything, but you don't have to understand the whole comic book lore, Superman.
Yeah.
You kind of get it.
Especially if it's time traveling, you can start anywhere.
Yeah, you can start anywhere. It all depends again, from the element, like how the music is basically the one saying, go there, or figure it out, like you know what I mean, like it is the music. So it depends what those cosmic things, like those things that kind of like go through us as musicians, then that's where it goes. I couldn't even, I mean, life experiences work as well a lot in that, because the anger fuels a lot of like Third Class Citizen, all the things. It's been very fueled by personal experiences, but at the same time, it's something that I don't think we get to decide, and it's more like it decides for us, and then we just need to hop on the train and then just like work hard to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, it sounds exciting either way. I've been so impressed already by that album. I thought it was a fantastic piece of work, and just so impressed with the three of you and what you managed to create and how you're doing it and your attitudes. Like, I'm very excited to see the growth that I'm sure was coming for your band and what's coming up. And good luck with the Straight from the Path tour. That'll be awesome to see. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a joy to talk to you. And hopefully, I'll be watching you with interest to see what the next chapter in the Calva Louise storyline of music is. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Well, likewise. It was great to chat to you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Well, that was a joy. What a wonderful group of people they are. Super interesting, creative, dedicated, great attitudes, great music. They're very, very interesting. I'm excited to see where their career goes from here. I'll put some links in the description of this very episode so you can check out their social media platforms and keep up to date with them in future. Also, if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, and that will help other people discover this conversation as well. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you'll join for another one of my interviews very soon.